This nightmare will become reality. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
I don't even know which movies that could be for. That could be for either of them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Eloise Geist.
That surprised me. Just go into one. I don't have any idea what happened in either of them. So,
welcome to I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
yeah.
I'm Katie.
And this week we watched 2016's Eloise. An incomprehensible movie.
Literally.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened in either of the stuff we're recording today, so this will be fun.
I'm just gonna stay quiet until we get to the jazz number.
Yeah, this is gonna be hard to talk about. How are you guys doing?
Yep.
Tired. Gonna murder this microphone.
Same. We're gonna see if we can get through this without Kit's microphone dying. Alright, well, this movie was directed by Robert Legato, written by...
Directed's a strong word.
Yeah. Written by Christopher Borelli, and then starring Chase Crawford, Eliza Dushku, both of which I don't understand why they're in this movie, and Robert Patrick. Also, I don't understand why he's in this movie.
He's sunk low, but he shouldn't be sinking this low.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they all saw like American Horror Story Asylum or whatever, and then somebody probably pitched it to him like, it's gonna be like that, and he was like, all right.
I think they just showed him a paycheck.
I
can't imagine the paycheck was that good.
This movie was really surprising that it came out in 2016 because it definitely, I was watching it and I was like, am I sure it didn't say like 2006? Because this was like pretty reminiscent of like terrible movies that came out during that time. And I cannot believe that it was only made a couple of years ago.
It's got strong mid-2000s like sci-fi vibes.
The soundtrack is extremely like 2002.
Yeah.
There's like a very fucking weird nu metal song somewhere at the beginning. It's all, I think, music written specifically for the movie because none of it has any like lyrics. It's all just instrumental shit.
Yeah. But
yeah, you got like a nu metal song, Kit's favorite jazz song later. This is fucking real weird all around. Fuck. I don't want to talk about this. So this movie opens with...
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, it opens. It's just... I didn't say it was a good opening.
I'm not convinced any of it happened.
Yeah, I'm still convinced I'm still in like a sleep-deprived fever dream from both of these movies. So it opens with a bunch of words on the screen that says, Eloise was the largest insane asylum in the country. What started as one building in 1832 grew into 78 buildings covering 900 acres in Westland, Michigan. Rumors of inhumane testing and treatment of patients administered by Eloise's head of psychiatry, Dr. H.H. Grease, and a devastating fire officially closed Eloise in 1982. Only 4 of the original 78 buildings still stand. So this movie is one of those movies that could have put based on a true story at the beginning, but thankfully didn't.
Yeah, but what they put at the end was like so weird.
Yes.
Yeah, the end they dedicate the movie to everybody that was there in this fucking.
Yeah,
It's
to
weird.
the patients and to their families and to the staff. And I was like, why? Like, did they not watch this movie? And what's the point?
All right, end of movie. I hope you suffer, but why?
Why?
Katie, you get to handle the why on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get I don't even fucking know how to get into this movie. So a bunch of this movie jumps back and forth between current time and
Jazz time.
I guess like well, so that's what's real weird is it's like you get that scene later where like all the jazz music's playing and you're supposed to think it's like the 1930s or some shit. But the way I understood it is this is taking place whenever Jacob is born, which would have put it in like the time the building closed. So I don't know, it's real weird.
Well, and the thing that confused me about it is because like there's a lot of these so it takes place in an abandoned asylum, obviously. And there's a lot of movies that do this where they like skip back and forth. Like House on Haunted Hill is an example of one where I think they did it correctly. I love that movie. But it's like confusing because you are getting glimpses of like what happened back when the building closed, but then sometimes the characters are a part of it, and I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, like the first 30 minutes or whatever, I was like, okay, like I'm following this. And then once they get into the insane asylum, and then it's just like a bunch of fucking gobbledygook happening, that I was just like, I am too tired for this movie. And then I had to watch Clowntergeist right after it.
Yeah, today was a real rough one.
I tried to watch Clowntergeist on Friday, and I got like the first 20 minutes in, and I was like, I can't do this right now. I was like, I have to put this off until I absolutely have to watch it.
I cannot wait to talk about Clowntergeist.
Yeah, let's get through this fucking garbage so we get to that. So you get old kind of flashback footage that you know is old because it's all in like sepia tone of Dr. Grease performing electroshock therapy on a patient that is trying to convince him that he's fine and should be let go. And then you get the opening credits. It's just fucking the easiest shit horror movies do, which is just
a Slipknot song.
I wish.
I was like,
it's the shit where it's just like, it's always, you get what happened in the past or something happens, and then it's just fucking news reports explaining to you everything that has happened.
God.
Yeah, like a montage. Yeah. But it's weird because there's like two different newscasters reporting on it, but they're both saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, at the same time, but like they're saying the same thing, but like differently. So it's like hard to pay attention to what either of them are actually saying.
Yeah.
What a stupid movie.
Last time Katie's allowed to pick a movie.
Listen, I'm gonna defend myself and say that both of the movies that I picked were still better than some of the stuff that either of you have picked.
I mean, Witchboard wasn't bad, it was just stupid. This is just bad.
Maybe because I watched Clowntergeist after it, I didn't think that the movie was bad, but it was stupid.
Yeah, it's
I didn't think, compared to a lot of these other movies, like the acting wasn't. I thought the acting was pretty good. I mean, I like Eliza Dushku, and then was that one guy's name Dell or something? His like friend. I thought he was funny. Like he had some pretty funny lines. It just like without I just don't understand the story. And then there was like a really insane plot twist at the end, which I don't understand why it happened, or like actually what the point of this movie is. If it was to like talk about the asylum because like it was a real place, and then you're gonna like dedicate the movie to them, like why does any of this stuff happen? It's so confusing. It's just read really bad.
When I started watching it, like when I got like, it was like all the shit at the beginning, and you get like the news reports and stuff. I thought I thought it was going to be like a Ghost Adventures kind of like mockumentary, kind of thing, where it was going to be like a ghost hunting crew goes in or whatever. Right. And I was like somewhat on board with that, as opposed to a guy trying to find his aunt's fucking death certificate to get money.
Yeah.
So after the credits, you get detectives questioning Eliza Dushku's character Pia,
which is the dumbest name ever. No offense to anyone whose name is Pia.
I just like that, like, last week we were just like, everybody's name is super boring in this movie. It's like David and Brandon, and now we're like, fucking Pia, what the hell?
And Dell.
This should have been a flashback part, so all of the investigators, like, sound all old-timey. Yeah, so where were you?
The other thing is, like, right, so to our point of this movie seemed like it came out in the early 2000s, they do the same thing that they do in, like, movies like House of the Dead, where they literally tell you in the beginning of the movie that, like, everyone else is dead. So...
How dare you bring up that amazing movie when we're talking about this?
I'm just saying, for reference. They do the same thing, and then it's like... I don't know.
After the detectives are like just asking Pia what the fuck happened, that you have no idea what they're even talking about yet, you cut to Jacob working on a car with a extremely loud generic nu metal song playing. He gets a phone call from his father's lawyer that his father died. They apparently had not talked in years, blah blah blah. Jacob, you see him talking to his lawyer. He is going to get $1.2 million, but
whoa,
it's such a weird like number. Like, I don't know. The .2 was like, just say like $2 million and leave it at that. But
gotta spice it up, but not too much.
But awesome if you threw out like an exact amount, like
1.24,
$1,946,000.
$382.96.
That would have really made this movie feel legit.
Yeah.
I would have been far more intrigued.
He has to prove that his aunt is dead, though, because it was like, apparently they know she's dead, but they have no sort of death certificate to prove it. So if he doesn't, he would have to wait 7 years to get that money, which... One of the, like, 2 trivia things on IMDb was about how this is nonsense. You find out that his dad was dying of some sort of cancer, but killed himself instead. Jacob's at his dad's house, fucking rifling through stuff, I guess, trying to find a death certificate, but instead finds a box with holes in it that's got some garbage in it.
Close enough.
My like 5th note is I am already over this movie at 9 minutes and 28 seconds.
Already bored.
Oh god. I mean, I will say that at least the last like half I was not bored, but it takes like 40 minutes to get into like anything worth watching. You see somebody kind of lurking through the house while Jacob's in it, and Jacob goes upstairs and finds apparently where his dad killed himself that nobody has cleaned up in enough days that they were able to fucking get his will all like taken care of and shit. Also, that blood was extremely like liquid and not dry.
New.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he like reaches down and touches it too. I'm like, ugh.
I was like, oh, is this gonna be some kind of weird like hallucination? And like, cause like they do this thing throughout the movie where like it kind of starts here, but it just makes no sense here. Where you see Jacob like kind of surveying the room, and you just see like those like quick flashes of like what his dad did to kill himself, which was to slice his own throat, which seems like the worst way to try and kill yourself.
Yeah, especially just like standing in your bedroom, like just Real nonchalant.
Yeah.
Do you think he just like stayed standing there? Like he saw the throat and he just stood there, just like waiting it out,
I
Like,
hope so.
This is fine.
Watch like
just
the
like tapping his toe,
it's like like looking at that fucking pocket watch. Like, come on.
listening to that jazz song.
I don't have time for this. I got a jazz ghost to fucking dance with later.
Jazz Ghost. Now there's a horror movie.
100% we'll watch that movie.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, add it to the list of movies we have to make. So the person that is also in this house comes sneaking up behind Jacob in a ski mask, and it is his friend Dell.
Weird.
Which, of course, this movie made the only black person in it a fucking criminal. Well, I guess there's security guards too, but
Orderly number 3, played by Big Ron Lyons.
I can't wait to get to the next episode where I could talk about how one of the characters is just listed as stoner roommate.
Oh my god, right.
So Jacob and Dell have a fucking back and forth, and then conveniently go to a bar that Pia works at, and they're catching up, like Dell and Jacob, and he's telling him about the $1.2 million, and Dell is 20 grand in debt, so I don't know, just fucking a bunch of nonsense.
Who isn't 20 grand in debt?
No shit.
Like, come on.
So Jacob goes to Eloise to get the records for like his aunt's death certificate or whatever, and gets a file that essentially says that the death certificate was remitted to the annex, which I still don't totally understand what that means. Like, I don't understand why all of the files were just in the same place. And when he asked about getting that, the lady's like, we can put in a request, but it's going to take 6 or 7 months to get. Jacob immediately leaves and runs into Rickety Cricket from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Who, like, I legit thought that's who that was. For, like, as soon as they showed him, I was like, what is this dude doing in this movie, too? But it's just some other fucking homeless man that looks like him.
I thought at
You
first
have to.
that he was I forget the guy's name, but he played like the guy who thought he was a pirate in Dodgeball.
Oh, God, I
Do you
haven't seen
remember?
Dodgeball. Who was it?
Alan Tudyk.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And I was like, whoa, but it was not him at all.
I wish it had been Steve the Pirate. This movie could have used so much Steve the Pirate.
I'm so mad that you know that. Like, just off the top of your head. I think I saw Dodgeball once, and I was like, I don't know if I can tell you anything about it other than Ben Stiller was in it.
It's pretty funny.
Let's talk about Dodgeball instead.
I'm so down.
Okay.
The movie or the game, either one.
Dodgeball, how they started showing like competitive dodgeball on television.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Which was a thing for like a year. That shit whipped ass. Bring that back.
I'm pretty sure like ESPN, like 5 or whatever fucking channels they have now, probably still does. But I would not pay for cable just to watch that. I bet you could,
I might.
Oh, so I bet you could probably find fucking full games on like YouTube.
All I remember is there was a team of dudes in like suits, and they were CPA, but it was for certified public assassins. When you're like 15, that's the funniest shit in the world.
Oh, that's depressing because I was like well into my 20s when that movie came out. So I guess Dell does some research on Eloise. Also, did anyone else think, I guess I did not look into this movie after Katie told us about it, but I thought Eloise was going to be the name of like a ghost in this movie, not a building.
I mean, the building Well, yeah.
It's the ghost.
It is the building, but it's like named after like a real child. And so looking at the front of the movie where it's like the three main whatever, and then there's a little girl, like I assumed. Like, to be fair, there was not a lot of ghost stuff happening. Like, obviously, when you go back to the, like, I mean, they're not, I don't know. We'll get into it. There's not a lot of ghost stuff that happens.
Yeah. So Dell does a bunch of research to plan to break in to steal this death certificate, and comes across some sort of webpage that has a bunch of info on the building by someone named Scott Carter. So they go to Scott Carter. It was one of those two. Just Scott.
Or Scott Carbon.
Yeah.
Scotty.
So
Yeah,
they
Scotty.
they go to talk to Scott, who delivers a pretty stupid jump scare.
Yeah, that was really weird.
There's like a bunch of fucking jump scares in both these movies, and I was real angry about it. Scott is a mentally handicapped character that they call Rain Man a couple times, so that's cool.
Yeah. They refer to him and like the patients as like crazy a lot. And that's another reason why I was like, is this the early 2000s?
No, this is still I like horror is a genre that just does not like progress well.
No.
A little slower than everything else at getting there.
So there's just like a bunch of shit with Scott, like because of his disability, he's like super hyper and just like is super focused on Eloise, and you find out it's because his mom worked there, and like he's like all over the place trying to show Jacob and Dell all of this stuff, and shows him a video of Dr. Grice talking about confrontational therapy, which is I guess just immersion therapy.
Yeah.
And Scott shows him a phone that he rigged that is like infrared, so he can see quote unquote ghosts.
It's a razor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that like when Dell is showing Jacob like the website with all of the stuff Scott found, it's like a BlackBerry. So is 2016, but still, like I just like to assume this movie was shot like 2008.
Are we sure it didn't like sneak out on the Sci-Fi Channel in like 2006? Because I swear to God, I watched this movie ages ago.
I don't know. It's confusing to me because it says 26. Like some places it says 2016, and some places it says 2017 as when it came out.
Right.
And I haven't really seen Elisha Dushku in anything recently, but she still looks like super young in this movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was like.
She does like a lot of stuff. Like does like a shit ton of DC voice work.
All 800 wrong turn.
A lot of movies though, like what'll happen is like IMDb will have the release date as whenever it premiered. So if the movie had its world premiere at like some convention in like November, but doesn't actually come out on like home video or like in theaters until like January, that's why you'll have that kind of discrepancy. Almost every movie we do has some kind of shit like that, where IMDb has like, you know, like I think Witchboard said 1986 on IMDb, but then on like Prime it said 1987 or whatever, you know.
Right.
I can't imagine why this film would have been lost in film purgatory for a year.
Well, it says it came out in Indonesia and Vietnam in 2016, and then everywhere else in 2017.
Oh, there you go.
So somebody
Weird.
watched it and thought it was good enough to keep going.
There
I
had
guess.
to have been some sort of like horror convention or something that like they got invited to like premiere it at, I'm guessing. Because like there's a bunch of movies right now that just like premiered at Fantastic Fest that like some of them probably won't fully come out until like January or something, so they'll have like weird date discrepancies too. It's all stupid.
Idaho Horror Con doesn't count.
Oh, is that a real con?
I assume that's where this premiered. They made up the one convention just for this.
That's hilarious.
Oh god. So
We're like 10 minutes into the movie, aren't we?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
fucking
pretty
a
much.
nightmare.
Fuck.
So Scott tells them shows them on a blueprint on how to get into the annex, and then Pia shows up, and she is coincidentally Scott's sister. So they just all decide to go to fucking Eloise, and Scott's gonna show them how to get to the annex, and Pia's only going because she has to take care of her brother. Of course, as soon as they show up to break in, it starts storming. You find out that Jacob is claustrophobic, and Pia is afraid of needles, because that's just dumb foreshadowing. Like, it's such a weird, random a bit of dialogue that I was like, oh, so this is definitely coming up later.
Yeah.
And you get like 10 minutes of the group just working their way through this fucking building that's all falling apart.
It's also like completely dark. So it's like you don't even see anything.
Yeah, all you really see is like flashlights and like camera phone, or like, yeah, like the camera light on like a cell phone. They almost get caught by a security guard. It's dumb and pointless. They finally make it to the annex, and I don't know, at some point Scott knocks out. There's like an entire room full of just like cans full of people's ashes that were just kind of left there. Scott knocks one over. I thought that was going to come back later, and it doesn't.
Well, I assume because they like closed in on it and there was like creepy music, so I'm assuming that that's like it's only one can of ashes, but I'm assuming they were trying to say like he awakened the building by doing that, but it's not good.
Not put forth well. So as they're walking around, Scott's seeing like hot spots on his fucking infrared camera. They get to some locked door that Dell just pushes open, and like 8 million birds fly out at him. And it is the actual annex. It is just a fucking football field size room full of file cabinets that are all just getting rained on because there's like no roof. And
yeah, I was like, how are they going to get a court order to get someone to go in there and like retrieve a random file like that? It was so weird.
Also very convenient that they just it's every different kind of file cabinet you could imagine, so nothing matches. Like all of like again, it's getting fucking rained on, so any sort of like labels on it would be fucking ruined, and they just happen to like Jacobs is just very quickly, it's just like, oh, here's the M's. Found my aunt.
Here it is. Yeah.
So
My favorite part is that when they walked in there, Dell goes, "Oh, so they just said fuck cleaning up."
Yeah, Dell delivers like the only fucking comedy in this movie. I use that term loosely. Both comedy and movie.
Quote unquote comedy.
So they're fucking looking through these file cabinets, and Scott wanders off. And so Pia eventually has to go look for him. And this is when the movie is going to get just difficult to talk about, because it just is like, I don't think we've done like a paranormal type movie on here yet. But it's just like it just has that trope of just like things happening in the background and like flashes of shit happening, and like it's just kind of stupid for one, but like
that's what I was gonna say.
Just, I don't know, like I don't know, you can't really explain it and get like a good concept of what the fuck is happening throughout half of it, and also like trying to catch any of the shit that's happening in the background was just pointless. So Pia's walking through this hallway, and this fucking, I guess what would be a security screen turns on, and it's like the hallway she's in, and it's like bustling with orderlies and fucking nurses and people, like inmates there or whatever. And it's like your first kind of idea that I guess shit is going to be happening somewhat concurrently between current time and the past. My next note is Pia sees ghost children or something.
Yeah, that scene was really weird.
Yeah, that scene, and then the one coming up when Dell sees all of the people in the cross, or like with that cross. I was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what that was supposed to be either.
I am very excited to talk about Dell cutting his hand. So
Oh God.
Scott's like walking through these hallways and is seeing like what I guess are supposed to be ghosts on his phone, and it just kind of keeps following it, and you cut back to Jacob and Dell looking at files, and fucking eventually Jacob finding his aunt's file. You cut back to Scott, who sees a bunch of pictures up in this hallway of the like inmates or whatever having confrontational therapy done to him, and he sees a picture of himself as a kid getting I guess, is it a lobotomy? Like the ice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the fucking like ice pick lobotomy fucking nonsense. Like, he sees himself having that as a kid, and then all of a sudden there's just like ghost orderlies that fucking grab him. Conveniently, Jacob, looking at his aunt's death certificate, just was very conveniently 30 years ago to the day that they are there.
Dun dun.
I actually put dun dun in one of my notes later on, and like I think in Cloudgeist. Dell, after they find like this death certificate, they all go to look for Scott, and Dell goes to break into a room full of drugs by punching the fucking glass that's full of like that wire, so he just cuts his hand all up, and then
Okay, but
Not
here-
a good idea.
yeah.
Here's the part that I don't get about this. So the very first time that something weird happens, he like drops the pocket watch, and then you get a scene of like orderlies beating up a patient for no reason, and then he sees the pocket watch like in that room, and that's why he breaks in to get the watch back. And I'm like, number one, that's not your watch, you stole it. Why do you care? Also, if it's behind a locked door, probably like leave. You don't need it.
Also be like, how did that get there? I'm getting the fuck out of here right now.
Yeah, no, he was like, what? He was like, what the heck? And then so he decides he's gonna punch through. Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
So Dell punches through this glass and like cuts his hand all up. He gets into the room and is like taking some of the whatever fucking drugs that are in there, and finds a bottle of some liquid that I guess he just assumed was like hydrogen peroxide or some sort of fucking disinfectant, and just fucking pours the entire bottle on his hand,
So
and it
much.
is
Like
liquid
30-year-old.
LSD. yeah, like some at least 30-year-old LSD that he just poured on his hand. Which, like, the only time I laughed throughout the entire movie was just seeing the label that just said LSD.
I cackled to myself.
Fucking,
I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
I can't. Is there such a thing as like medical grade LSD?
I guess so.
It's fucking,
It's out of my drug wheelhouse.
I laughed so hard, and I was like, for real? Like, they're just like. They couldn't have just made it Ghost. They had to make him be fucking just like losing his mind on fucking drugs instead of being ghosts. So the group keeps trying to call Scott on these fucking walkie-talkies they have, and Dell starts freaking out because he's having a fucking insane LSD trip. That he is seeing guards behind Jacob and Pia as they're talking to him, and he pulls out a gun and aims it at him, and eventually just starts like firing at these ghosts and runs out of the room. You cut back to Scott, who is now being held down by these ghosts, like orderlies, on a table. And you keep seeing shit happening to him, and it cuts back to his phone. That's like, I guess, fucking set somewhere that you can see the whole thing, and it's just like his body heat and nothing around him. And,
yeah, that didn't make sense to me.
like, I get what they were doing, but I don't remember seeing a point that like anybody puts his phone like on a cabinet facing where he's at, so it was just weird. So eventually Dr. Grice comes in and just gives fucking Scott a lobotomy, which you see through his phone is technically it was himself giving it to him. Because I think
It's impressive.
it's weird. Like, it happens to him, and then it cuts to the phone, and you see him like holding the fucking pick like up to his head. It's all real dumb. And
Cannot stress that enough.
I can't even, like, also this movie's like an hour and 27 minutes, and we're like 40 minutes into it at this point. Like,
God.
luckily the rest of my notes are fucking sparse, so I think we'll just burn through this nonsense quickly.
It's gonna be the jazz scene.
Yes. So Dell's running through these fucking halls, tripping on LSD, and just fucking wildly firing his gun at ghosts. And he like
What a sentence.
he comes across like the end, like I guess a dead end that just has this giant lit up cross that is just surrounded by people. That he's just sitting there like, what the fuck? And then just, I don't know, nothing happens and he leaves. I don't understand any point of that scene whatsoever. He eventually runs into a room that he gets locked in that is flooding from, I guess, the rain, but is also filled with dead bodies. And he just eventually drowns after a fucking ghost dead body holds him underwater.
Yeah, that part was so weird because they're like grabbing for him and pulling him under, and then they just like let him go and let him drown, like, because the room fills up.
Yeah, it's all fucking real stupid. Don't watch this movie ever. Jacob and Pia are looking for Dell and Scott and enter a giant fucking, I guess, recreation dance hall room and start hearing singing, and all of a sudden you see a flashback scene that I think when Kit watched it, texted both of us. It was just like, I left the room for a minute and I come back and it's just fucking a like swing music playing, and he's like, I don't know what is happening.
Oh, I got up. I was like, nothing's happening in this movie. I'm gonna go pee. I'll come right back. And in the like 45 seconds it took, I come back, and suddenly there's a big fight happening. People are throwing chairs at each other, and there's swing music playing. And I was just like, what the hell happened? What broke down?
And it's like the first time you get like more than like a flashback really of like the sepia tone scenes. Because like the rest of them are, like, for the most part have just been like maybe like at the most like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And most of it's usually just been like these quick like flashes to like fucking jump scare people. And like this one like lasts for like a solid couple minutes, and it's just like a bunch of the inmates, I don't know, dancing, and one of them's fucking painting, and it's just, I don't know what is supposed to be happening in this room.
Yeah, it's like they're drawing pictures of like the main people too. So there's like a picture of Jacob, a picture of Pia, one of Dell, and then there's like naked people, and there's people that are naked on the floor. And I was like, what is this room? What is happening?
The naked room.
Yeah, it's the naked dance paint room.
There's one guy that's just like covered in paint.
So there's like a guy throughout this movie that is like the guy that I think starts the fight. Is that the patient from the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, so there's a few people that they showed just like montage pictures of their faces in the very beginning, and they're in this room. There's a few of them.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
correct.
after
Sighing. let's just sigh for the next like
Yeah.
20 minutes, and then that's it. That's all episode.
So
Pretty much.
after this, like, Jacob and Pia like leave this room because they're just like, what the fuck is happening? And they see someone at the end of this hallway go like running off, and they think it's Scott, so they give chase, and it ends up being Rickety Cricket, and he who has like led them to Scott's body. And Pia starts freaking out, and you get like this fucking flash that this fucking homeless dude was, I guess, an orderly that worked there.
Yeah.
Question mark. It's like a fucking. They make this reveal like it's a shocking thing, and it's like nothing. If that's it, you're just like, oh, okay, this homeless guy
Right.
worked there. Cool.
There's like no point to that at all.
And so at this point, the movie basically switches to the past permanently, and like now it's just Jacob and Scott in their modern clothes running around this fucking sepia tone nightmare.
Jacob and Pia.
Who did I say?
Scott.
Oh, well, whatever. I wish it was Scott. Scott deserved better.
He did.
Scott was just somebody enthusiastic about looking at abandoned buildings, and he got a fucking lobotomy because of it.
That's right.
Pour one out for Scott.
So, my note just said, scene immediately becomes old-timey. So, at this point, they're just, like, trapped in this fucking past nonsense, and, they both basically are now being held by Dr. Grease. Grice, I don't know, I keep saying it differently.
I appreciate it.
It doesn't matter.
I made like a
Although-
point when I was watching it to be like, okay, that's how it's pronounced, and now every time I see it, I'm just like, is this Grease or Grice?
I think it's Grace.
It doesn't matter, I'm gonna say Grease.
I wish Dr. Grease makes me think like it's John Travolta, like from Grease.
I just-
Like
I was literally about to say Grease Light. If they just like broke out into Grease Lightning.
I just keep
that'd be incredible.
thinking it's like a... So, side note, this is going to tie it together to what I was going to say. I listened to Riff Raff last night, and you guys were talking about Professor Pig, who is a fucking sick Batman villain, by the way. But I just, like, as we were just talking about this, I had the picture of Dr. Grease as, like, Professor Pig, but his face is just a giant piece of greasy pizza.
Which also ties into our dodgeball reference earlier. If anyone remembers that scene.
I do not.
Ben Stiller fucks the pizza.
Oh, that's... God, I don't remember any of that movie. This seems like something I would remember. Fuck. So, Dr. Grease has Jacob tied to this table, and he's talking to, like, a room full of other doctors or, like, nurses or fucking whatever.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said bats.
Oh. That'd be amazing.
I was trying to will this movie to be more exciting than it actually was.
I would be fucking on board if it was just a bunch of fucking, like,
It's
man-bat
an army of
characters.
bats. Yeah.
And so he's gonna fucking force Jacob to confront his fear of claustrophobia by fucking locking him in a morgue storage unit for bodies. And then he like pulls a curtain back and reveals Pia like strapped to a table, and they are going to force her to confront her fear of needles in the worst scene of this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was real bummed out. Like, I'm not even, like, scared of needles, but, like, so they lock Jacob in this fucking thing, and then they just show nurses just fucking jamming the shit out of her fucking arm, like, the crook of her elbow with needles, like, as hard as they can.
Like huge ass needles,
Yeah.
not like normal needles.
That, like, have to be fucking, like, stabbing her in her fucking elbow, like, the bone in her elbow, and they're so long. It's fucking
Goodbye.
terrible. Eventually, she fucking, like, pulls... Like, it's just, like, pulling on her fucking strap so hard that it pulls, like, one of the arm straps out with the screw, like, into the table attached, that she just stabs into a fucking one of the nurses and breaks free and, like, goes running out. Like right before that happens, Dr. Grease says he has to leave to, and I quote, perform birth. Which
I missed that.
was the fucking weirdest phrasing for that I think I've ever heard. Pia eventually puts on like a nurse outfit and is just like walking around and comes across like the morgue room and hears Jacob screaming and lets him out. They go trying to Joe skulking through these hallways to try and escape without getting caught and come across a room that has his aunt's name on it, and Dr. Grease goes walking in and like closes the blinds, and his aunt gives birth and Dr. Grease leaves and says it's a boy.
She performs a birth.
Yeah, he performs a birth on his aunt. And spoiler, Jacob is the baby that's born.
Wow.
The aunt, yeah, it's this fucking mind blown gif.
Wild.
I was just like, it's just so weird.
It's real stupid. And it's as this started happening, I was like, God damn it, he's gonna be the baby.
Right.
So eventually, like after Grease leaves, Jacob goes into the room and like hides under the bed as like a nurse comes in and hears like his aunt / mom whisper something to the nurse, which is basically like, please get this baby out of here so it doesn't have to grow up in this asylum.
So this is the part of the movie that I was like getting really confused about whether they were like in an alternate dimension, because it's like, you see movies where they, and they do it like, let's just say in The Flash, where they go back in the past and they do stuff to alter it and it ends up being like the thing that changes the future or whatever. And so that's why this part was really confusing to me, because he goes to talk to his aunt mom and he's like, hey, it's me, Jacob. And she's like, oh my God, Jacob, it's you. And then names the baby Jacob. So I was like, how is this happening?
I mean,
they're in a flashback, but they're affecting the future through it. I don't understand.
My wish that if this movie would have ended this way, it would be like a 4 out of 5 stars, was that at the very end, like all of this shit happens and then you just like pull out from Dell's eyeball and it's just him tripping from fucking earlier and he's just like pointing the gun at everybody.
That would have been a better ending than what ends up happening.
Yes. So she asks this nurse to like try and sneak the baby out or whatever, and then I guess dies from giving birth because she just fucking bleeds out fucking everywhere from...
Ew, and it like drips on his face when he's under the bed too.
Like all I could think is that they let the I guess Dr. Grease, for reasons we will get to in a minute, doesn't want her to stay alive, so I'm guessing he's just like, fuck it, bleed out, but it's weird.
Ugh.
Yeah, babies and birth are gross. Stop.
Yeah, agreed.
Stop having and doing.
Stop
them.
that.
So
stop doing birth.
We take a stand against babies.
This, yes, hard
official.
stance.
I hope you suffer stance.
Babies, clowns, and time. So
all bad.
The nurse puts this fucking baby in the box you see from earlier in the movie that Jacob had, and calls this child into the room to look at the baby, who ends up being Pia as a child, and the nurse is her mom. My next note is, this is fucking stupid.
I wrote, okay, so earlier she has a flash of the little girl with the box, like holding the box up, and I was like, how did she see herself as a ghost? I don't get that.
I mean, she's singing.
And at this
again,
point,
so...
I just like started laughing because it was so ridiculous. So
she gives this box with baby Jacob in it to child Pia, so this also doesn't make sense because I realize Eliza Dushku is probably in real life older than Chase Crawford, but he looks so much older than her in this movie. So I was like, wow, these age discredit, like the way they look, at least I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But so,
well, and also Scott is older than her, and I thought No, wait, that's right. Never mind.
Is he?
Yeah, because she said that like earlier in the movie they were talking they had this like weird thing about I don't have a mom. Well, I don't have one either, and she was like my mom didn't come home from work one day. I was 4 and Scott was 6.
Oh, you paid way more attention to this than I did.
Fortunately.
So, like, Pia goes, like, leaving the room with this fucking baby in the box, and Dr. Grease comes in and asks the nurse where the baby's at and just slaps the absolute shit out of Pia's mom. And then, like, has a bunch of, like, orderlies go run off to find this baby, and you find out that Dr. Grease is Jacob's dad. And Jacob is like upset about this, so they conveniently are in this hospital 30 years to the day that a fire started that closed this hospital for good. So Jacob is apparently the one that starts this fire. So the fire happens, and it's just everybody fucking like fleeing the hospital. Jacob and Pia get outside and see young Pia delivering the baby to Jacob's uncle/dad. And as that happens, Jacob is grabbed by an orderly and pulled back into the hospital as the movie immediately switches back to current day. So Jacob, I guess, is just lost in the past somehow.
It's a shame.
I mean, you hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
So Pia's like arguing with the fireman and trying to be like, we need to save Jacob, blah, blah, blah. And then cuts back to her being questioned by the detective, and she is given a box that is full of drawings of her, Jacob, Dell, and Scott. Were these all drawings that Jacob did?
That part confused me because like in the very beginning he drew her picture on when he like paid for the drinks or whatever, and she kept that, I guess. But then those pictures were also in the jazz ghost scene, so I don't know like how that happened. And also before it like switches back to that, there's like an explosion and I'm like, what? Because he caused the fire in the past, but now it's the present and the building's exploding for some reason.
Yeah, everything at the end of this movie just makes no sense. But basically, Pia gets this box with all the stuff in it, and then you cut to Jacob, who is locked in one of these fucking morgue storage units again and is freaking out. And you see Dr. Grice sign off that his aunt had the baby and that the baby died after birth, and end of movie.
Yeah, and then the dedication for some reason.
Yeah, there's like dedications to fucking, I don't know, the people that worked there, because, I don't know, they don't want to piss off the ghosts of the people that worked there. It's very dumb. Katie, you've been getting news. Did you get any news this week?
Yes. Oh, and I actually have news that will be prevalent when this episode comes out instead of has already happened. So they're doing it's just more Stephen King news because, you know, that's my thing. So him and his son Joe Hill wrote a novella called In the Tall Grass, which I read and I really liked it. And they're doing a Netflix adaptation. It comes out on October 4th, and Patrick Wilson is starring in it. For people who like don't recognize him by name, he was in Insidious. He played Ed Warren in The Conjuring, and he was Night Owl in Watchmen.
He's in every current paranormal movie as the investigator.
Yeah, and he's.
Let's not forget he is the douchebag in Aquaman.
Yes, I watched that movie on the plane when I came back from Japan, which was like 24 hours, and I didn't sleep, and so I like blacked out. But yeah, he was an Aquaman. And like I said, that comes out on the 4th for Netflix, so I think it'll be good. I watched the trailer, and it looks pretty good. And
yeah. I thought it looked good, and it's gotten some decent to good reviews.
You got anything else, Katie?
Um, I don't know too much about this or why this happened, but I saw recently that Wes Craven just got the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street back,
Oh
and
yeah,
everyone seems really surprised or happy about that. Not surprised. So,
like the rights to the Nightmare on Elm Street like franchise reverted back to like his family estate now or whatever, which just means that like I guess that like they have the rights to decide what happens if they want to make more movies or anything like that, which is I guess good if they don't want to, because we don't need any more unless they decide to do one more with fucking Robert Englund.
Nah, Kevin Bacon.
I mean, I would be on board with that, but I know Robert Englund has said he'd be down to do like one more movie, so I would like to see that. I just don't. We don't need another remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, or like a reboot or anything.
They need to move a street over.
Yes.
Nightmare on Oak Street.
Oh shit! There we go.
I mean, I think they will. I've seen a lot of like, among other reboots, they're doing. I just saw that they're going to do Little Shop of Horrors, and there's a rumor that Lady Gaga is going to play the lead. They're redoing The Craft for some reason, which like makes me upset. I'm actually wearing a Craft shirt right now, so I don't know how I feel about that. And then they're doing another The Grudge.
Yeah, I saw something about that like 2 days ago that is like coming out soon, and I was like, this is a thing that's happening?
Well, the thing that's weird to me about it is that it takes place at the same time. So it's not a reboot, technically, right? It takes place at the same time as the first Grudge, but at where the Grudge, the first one takes place in Japan, this is happening at the same time in America, is what I read, which makes no sense to me because, like, the whole point of the Grudge is that she's in Japan being, harassed by this ghost in Toshio. So, like, I don't get how it takes place in America at the same time, but maybe we'll find out, I guess.
I'm not like opposed to remakes. Like Kit and I've talked about a couple times, like we both like the Child's Play remake. The Evil Dead remake is super good. Like
I didn't see Child Play yet. I did see Evil Dead, and it was pretty good.
Like they can be done well, but it's also like I feel like things like The Grudge, it's like we have like they're not that old, and we already had like a remake with like 3 sequels or some shit. Like if you're gonna remake something from like the 70s. Like just have like at least a 30-year fucking difference in between the original and like a remake. Quit making remakes of movies that already have remakes or like came out like
10 years ago. Yeah.
Spider-Man, cramming as many as you can in a 5-year period.
I mean, as somebody that only likes the newer version of Spider-Man, I was fine with that. But
listen,
I want 20 different Nightmare on Elm Streets within the next decade.
At least the good thing about like the Tom Holland Spider-Man is you never saw Uncle Ben get killed, and they just fucking skipped origin shit immediately and just went into straight like, no, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's also like a lot more. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Andrew Garfield, but like, he's a lot more like age appropriate looking and acting to me.
Oh, you want to get into Tobey Maguire looking like he's fucking 40 in the first Spider-Man movie and playing a college student?
I specifically ignored. I left that out for a reason, but anyways, they should just remake which board? Sam Raimi, get on it.
I was gonna say Night of the Lepus. I need a Night of the Lepus remake if they're gonna remake anything.
Yes.
Or ignore what I said
Kingdom
earlier
Spiders.
and Chris Rock. Get at me and Kit, because we have a fucking perfect idea for what your Saw remake should have been, which is Tom Green playing Jigsaw.
Oh my god.
And everyone else in the movie.
Yes.
You know what's like really sad
it's
is
just
that
Tom
I
Green
could like
and then Kevin Bacon, and then that's it.
I could see that working. I'm not gonna lie.
Kit and I had like a text streak where we were just like putting Tom Green in remakes of shit, and like all of them would be amazing.
If you put Kevin Bacon in something, I'll watch it. So.
Tell that to Kit's other podcast partner.
Uh-oh.
Who hates Kevin Bacon for.
Pat's not a fan.
He's a goddamn not American. Goddamn.
What's there not to like about him?
Yeah. I don't know. Not liking Tremors should be a crime.
I agree with that.
I guess the only other news that we probably should say something about is that Sid Haig died today, like the day we're recording. Go watch Spider Baby, because that is a fucking awesome movie he was in.
I actually haven't seen that yet.
And Night of the Living Dead 3D, which I've not watched, but I know he's in. So just watch that, because I'm assuming it's super I Hope You Suffer appropriate.
There's no way it isn't.
And hot take, House of a Thousand Corpses is not good.
No.
That's not a hot take to me. That's
I knew at least Kit was going
by
to
lead.
I agree. Pretty sure I saw that in the theater too. That was like a dark time for movies.
I enjoyed it seeing in the theater, and then I bought it on DVD, and I was like, why did I like this? But Devil's Reject is good, so. My apologies to Yaz at the Worst Horror Podcast, who's going to listen to this and get extremely mad that we're talking shit about Rob Zombie movies.
Oop.
We love you guys. Don't be mad at us. And we are also working on a crossover episode with them that I am extremely excited about. So look forward to that at the end of October.
Yeah, you have like a month to go.
Yeah. So our next movie that we are recording in like 5 minutes for 2 weeks from now is Clowntergeist. Big sigh for a movie with a great title that, again, just suckered us in like Tsunami.
This one was watchable.
Yeah, this one,
unlike Tsunami.
This one, like, well, we'll get into it in the next episode. You could follow us on Twitter at I Hope You Suffer, on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. Go listen to Riff Raff, Kit's Metal Podcast. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face on Instagram. Go check out my other podcast that I just started with my girlfriend Caitlin called Let Me Be Your Pot of Love, about nonsense VH1 reality shows.
Someone else start a podcast with me so that I can plug a second podcast.
Yeah. Start a Stephen King podcast already.
I think I need to.
Just do one of those ones where it's like solo and it's just you ranting about Stephen King movies and books for like an hour by yourself.
I mean, anyone who follows me on Twitter, that's pretty much what I do, so I'll just read my tweets.
Alright, fuck it, I hope you suffer, but why?
But why?
Crushed it.